It's a little something, you know, American Conference. We see it. You know, we here.
This is probably the worst kept secret in North America. The American Athletic Conference has invited Wichita State to be its 12th basketball playing member, and this morning we accepted.
I think we're really excited for it.
This has given us an opportunity to play top 50 programs.
Every single night would be a big game. It'll be like an NCAA tournament game every night.
The buzz around Wichita that's all anybody wants to talk about.
Lane Morris and lays it in with the left hand as he was being fouled.
It's just exciting. Going to be cool going to different places and seeing new things, new scenery, and you know, having new teams at our house too.
Two defenders gets the roll.
All the Missouri Valley things we accomplished don't really matter anymore. So as we move forward, we're just trying to set new goals for ourselves.
We are competing for championships, and at the end of the day, we are a rising national university. Go Shots!
What program could you take in the entire country that would be, you know, more sustainable?
It'll give us a good opportunity to show what we have and show what we can put on the court, and I think overall it'll be really good for us.
And it's your conference now. We're thrilled to have you, and we're thrilled to welcome Wichita State into the conference.
Are you ready for this? 1 week from right now, the Wichita State Shockers tip off their first American Athletic Conference game. We're here to get you all set. Over the next half hour, we're going to break down the entire league. Former Shocker stud Terrell Benton's going to join us with his thoughts on this year's bunch. Plus, everything from visibility to recruiting has been revved up. Let's dive right in and put this non-conference schedule to bed first, though. A little by the numbers here on the Shockers. They sit at number 11 right now in the AP poll. They rose to as high as number 3 just 2 weeks ago. They're scoring more than 80 points a game. That's their highest total in almost 40 years, giving them a scoring margin of plus 15. So they're not pummeling teams like they were in years past, but they are pummeling teams still on the boards with one of the nation's top rebounding margins. It's by no means been smooth sailing for WSU so far. Head coach Greg Marshall on multiple occasions has called this the most difficult non-conference schedule in his tenure. And taking a look at these dozen showdowns, it's no mystery why. A welcome sight to start the season. Landry Shamet back and ready to go for their opener after off-season foot surgery. And the Shockers looked every bit of their preseason number 7 ranking, rolling through both UMKC and the College of Charleston.
But this is how you do it. Sharing the ball, being when it's your time, knocking the shot down, and winning handily.
Their Maui opener came with some adversity, trailing Cal 18 points, but they were able to come from behind. They won it, beat Marquette, and then had a late game meltdown against Notre Dame, handing the Shockers their first loss of the season.
And the Irish win it!
The last 19 seconds were the toughest 19 seconds that I've dealt with as a coach in 33 years. I've never lost a game like that, and we lost that one because everything that could go wrong went wrong, and that's on us. It's on me.
They'd rebound from heartbreak quickly, though, scoring 112 points on Savannah State before heading to Waco to beat Baylor. That was their first top 25 win in almost 6 years on the road.
Something that we preach in the locker room before road games. We know defense travels, and sometimes offense doesn't, so that's one thing that we really focus on is locking down on defense and rebounding, and that's been the key to winning so many games on the road, I feel like.
After Baylor, they had to survive a scare from South Dakota State. The upset-minded Jackrabbits racing to a 13-point lead in the second half. The Shockers didn't let it happen. They improved their record to 7-1, and then a trip to Oklahoma State, where Shamet dropped 30 points as WSU won in Stillwater for the first time in 60 years.
I have great respect for these programs as well as these coaches, and we obviously needed this challenge, and to go on the road back-to-back Saturdays and win on the road against quality teams, it just helps us get better.
The other Oklahoma school is not so kind. The nation's leading scorer, Trey Young, scoring 29 points at Intrust Bank Arena, as the Shockers had no answer for the fab freshman and his Sooners as they dropped to 8-2.
The way I'm looking at it is this is just preparing us for March and playing in games like that. Just staying positive, staying with the process, and get back in practice tomorrow and just get better.
And then for the third straight home game, the team scored 50 first-half points, but despite it all, WSU able to come from behind once again, this time beating Arkansas State, as they still try to figure out what kind of team they want to be.
Zach at halftime said y'all want to be known as the best offensive team in Wichita State history or the worst defensive team. And I think that's a really good point. and that's kind of where we're headed. And I don't think any of those guys in there want to be like that. So a lot of it was just us kind of blowing just schemes and stuff and doing things that we shouldn't do or don't normally do, and we'll clean it up though.
And last night they were able to take down Florida Gulf Coast in a 75-65 win. It wasn't easy though. They trailed by 7 at one point in the second half. But in that game, they got their superstar back. Cake's Austin Cliff now joining us from Koch Arena with more on the return of the Mark.
Chase, the Shockers ending one of the nation's most difficult non-conference schedules on Friday night with a big win over Florida Gulf Coast. But the biggest story coming out of Koch Arena was the long-awaited return of Marcus McDuffie. The junior forward entered the floor to a standing ovation, a moment he won't soon forget.
I felt overwhelmed. A lot of people before the game would text me like, "Oh, we're gonna go crazy for you when you come in and everything." So I was like, when I got up, I knew the whole crowd was gonna go crazy. So it was overwhelming, but it's great to be back on the court for real.
McDuffie managed 3 points, all free throws, 5 boards, and 2 assists in his 9 minutes. But beginning to shake the rust off was a huge step.
It's just great to see him smile. You just have him back out there, and he was supposed to play 8 to 10 minutes. He goes 9 minutes. So, I followed the rules, and other than the one crazy shot that he took, really played okay.
I got a whole week now to get my groove back, so I'm gonna be in the gym a lot, just getting my conditioning. And by the time December 3rd, I should be back, where I left off.
And the team will need him to do just that as they begin their conference schedule at UConn next Saturday. At Koch Arena, Austin Clift, Cake Sports. Chase will send it back to you in the studio.
Yeah, Austin, you're absolutely right. They definitely need McDuffie at 100% as quickly as possible. Now, Wichita State not coming into this new league as the favorite, but as close as you can get. 1 single point separating WSU from Cincinnati. The coaches picking the Bearcats to finish first this preseason, and for really good reason. We'll get to them in just a second. UCF is picked to finish third, and SMU and UConn round out the top 5. Then it goes Houston, Temple, Tulsa, Memphis, Tulane, ECU, and USF. To the Bearcats, Cincy returning 4 of their top 5 scorers from last season. They wrapped up non-conference 11-2 and 20th overall in the AP poll. They're riding high on a 4-game winning streak. Their losses this season to Florida and Xavier, both tough clubs. Their experience is something that has their head coach Mick Cronin pretty eager to get conference play started.
Whenever you have your 3 leading scorers back, it makes the coach smile. So Gary Clark, Kyle Washington, Jacob Evans are guys that make me sleep well at night. So keep those guys healthy. They're winners. They can score the ball. They understand that defense and rebounding equal victory. So our culture is intact.
And yeah, so Cincinnati picked to win the conference. These 5 landed on the preseason's first team. They're all guards. Shake Milton from SMU, Jalen Adams from UConn, Rob Gray at Houston. Then you have Wichita State's own Landry Shamet, as well as UCF's B.J. Taylor. UConn's Alterique Gilbert was named the preseason Rookie of the Year, and the preseason Player of the Year is Milton. The SMU junior averages a team-high 17.2 points already this year. His Mustangs are off to a hot start as well. 10-3 overall, 9-0 at home, improving their Moody Coliseum winning streak to 31 straight games. The Mustangs only returned 3 rotation players from last year, but Milton thinks the Ponies are ready for another run.
I think we just have a little bit of everything, from the youth to the experienced. I feel like we have a team who's very versatile. We can play big, we can play small, and I think we're just going to be able to mess with teams a lot.
So here are all 12 teams and their records through this very moment. Every team in the league has a winning record. Cincinnati has 11 wins, while Houston, SMU, and WSU all have 10. Memphis, Tulane, USF, and UCF all have 9 wins, while Tulsa, UConn, and Temple all rounded out with 7 wins apiece. And one thing that's really incredible about this conference is the quality of head coaches. Look at these guys right here in their rings. You have national championship winners like Tubby Smith and Kevin Ollie. You also have perennial winners like Kelvin Sampson and, of course, Greg Marshall. And that's not to mention, on the women's side, UConn's Gino Auriemma, he's won 11 national championships.
It's amazing, just to watch these guys on television, just to see these guys on TV. It's amazing. Now that we're in this conference, and I'm walking past guys like Kevin Ollie, you got Gino walking by, Coach Marshall's here, of course, and a lot of other great coaches, I don't know the name, but a lot of other great coaches. It's just amazing to see the difference from the MVC to the AAC.
And there is a big difference, and recruiting has really stepped up a notch. Still ahead on the Welcome to the AAC, we're going to take a look at the Sensational 6, the Shockers signing class so far for next season. Plus, former Shocker stud Terrell Benton joining us here in studio with his thoughts on WSU's move to the new conference. But first, have a listen to UConn's Kevin Ollie.
Every publication, they're coming in top 10, top 5. So whenever you identify Wichita State, you're going to identify American Conference. And I think they got great players. They got a great tradition. I think Greg is doing a great job there. And I look forward to playing there in my first conference game.
All right, welcome to the AAC preview. Rolls on now with a special guest. Joining me now, Terrell Benton. He is in the 1,000 career points club at WSU, playing from 1998 to 2002 for both Randy Smithson and Mark Turgeon. Thanks for joining us on our special tonight.
Very happy to be here, Chase. Very happy.
All right, let's jump right into this. You're a Derby guy, growing up down there, a Panther, and then you turn into a Shocker. What's it kind of like being a local product, getting to go play at Koch Arena?
Oh, man, it was really incredible having the opportunity to play in front of so many people that I played in front of growing up, having family here locally, and then just being tied to the city, understanding the ebbs and flows and knowing Shocker basketball and the rich history and tradition. It made that transition pretty incredible. And we were in the process where there were some issues right early on in that transition into Shocker athletics, but it really was an incredible experience.
And you got to play for two head coaches in your tenure, Coach Smithson and Coach Turgeon. What was it like playing for each? What were the difference in styles that you got to experience in your 4 years?
Oh, man, I would tell you most fans probably noticed the stylistic differences pretty dramatically. Coach Smithson was just really hard-nosed. He was a guy that didn't take a lot of excuses for a lot of things, and the program was really defined by our toughness, our physical toughness, mental toughness, ability to defend, although we struggled with skills. Skills weren't always something that we valued. Coach Turgeon, on the flip side, it was flowing and ebbs, and we were able to do a lot of things in terms of our skills that made us much better.
And yeah, you're a Valley guy, a product of the Missouri Valley Conference, and so is everyone that played Shocker basketball for the last almost century. And now, for the first time in 72 or whatever years it's been, they're moving on to a new conference. When you saw AAC, what was kind of your first impression? I know it had been talked about for a very long time, but when they actually made the move, what was kind of your reaction to it?
I was ecstatic, and knowing the university and having the relationships I have there, it made so much sense to me, even beyond athletics, that I was absolutely ecstatic. It was a wonderful decision in my opinion. It's strange to not be in the Valley and to not associate Wichita State with the Valley, but I think the move has been a wonderful move for the university and the athletic program.
I know there's still people around town that remember some of these old Valley rivalries with teams like Cincinnati and Tulsa.
Absolutely.
To kind of reignite those, what does that kind of mean for these rivalries that had never died, so to speak, but now that are kind of resurrected?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you think about, the old days of Oscar Robertson coming in here with those Cincinnati ball clubs. You think about just the decades-long rivalry with Tulsa. To have some of those renewed and to be able to feel that energy again, I think is going to be really incredible. And I think it'll drive some real renewed energy into Charles Koch Arena.
I know we kind of talked about this on our own before this, but we look at this non-conference schedule that the Shockers have put together this year. Do you remember a non-conference schedule in your 4 years that was anything like this one?
Oh, not even close.
Yeah.
I mean, now Wichita State has the ability to go knock on doors and say, hey, we want home and homes, i.e. Oklahoma State, Baylor, OU, those types of programs. When I was playing, we were getting bought. People were bringing us in to hopefully beat us, which began to change late in my time there. So it's a much different effect now, and I love seeing the depth and breadth of our non-conference schedule.
And yeah, we kind of look back on some of these games and these road wins that they've gotten. Baylor, they end their 46-game home non-conference winning streak. Oklahoma State, a team going through a lot of change, but still a Big 12 team, and it's on a road in a hostile environment. For them to go down there without Marcus McDuffie and pick up 2 quality wins, how big is that for them, resume-wise, as they do push toward a tough conference and then March?
I think it's huge. I think the reality is for guys that wouldn't ordinarily play because of Marcus McDuffie, I think it's great for them to have that experience. I think that bodes well for our ability to go to a UConn and win, our ability to go to a Memphis and win, a Houston and win, environments that we're not accustomed to, but guys that got some early minutes due to Marcus's injury, unfortunately, will now have that experience. I think that will be wildly impactful.
And looking forward at the conference slate, most of the teams, you don't have a night off. It's right. 2 times a week. You're in hostile environments in these big-time college basketball venues. When you look at the schedule, how many games do you think the Shockers, I guess, will lose in conference this year?
You know, I think there are obviously some tough environments, and I think we would all be remiss to believe that we weren't going to lose more in the AAC than we did in the Valley. So I would venture to guess there's probably a solid 3 losses on our schedule somewhere down the line. I don't anticipate us losing games at home. The arena is the arena, but, you know, there are going to be some places that are going to be tough to play. And so, but I don't think those hurt us in terms of NCAA tournament resumes and seedings. I think those help you prepare yourselves for those really high-end games come tournament play. And,
you know, in the Valley, you see all these lopsided wins, especially for the Shockers, you know, and over these last few years. So the doom and gloom scenario of losing a game, what would be your best advice to Shocker fans if you do drop a game at Houston or at Cincinnati to it's okay?
Take a deep breath, right? So you lose a game at Cincinnati, that's a lot different than if you go into Evansville and lose. When the NCAA tournament takes a look at that, that's not a bad loss, as opposed to the Valley where you lose on the road or you lose to some of those conference teams. On your resume, that looks like a bad loss. I'd say take a breath and understand that iron sharpens iron, and this is only going to help the program, not just now, but as you go and recruit and do all these other different things that make a program sustainable. Those types of things are really important.
All right, we're running out of time, so we're going to do some quick predictions. Seed in the NCAA tournament?
3.
3 seed. Will they win the AAC this year?
Yes, they will.
Tournament and regular season?
Regular season, not sure about the tournament.
Not sure in the tournament. And how deep do you think this team will go?
I think this team can go as far as, I think it can get to the Final Four. I think a realistic expectation is at least the Sweet 16.
All right, Terrell Benton and the 1,000 Career Points Club at WSU. Big-time Shocker. We thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, still ahead on the Welcome to the AAC. We're going to take a look back at the volleyball team's historic start in their new conference. You can see them hoisting the trophy and holding up the banner there. Plus, WSU will have 6 seniors to replace next season who will head to Koch Arena to try to fill their shoes in 2018.
I think it's just great to have a team in our conference at that level to go along with already great conference teams we have in Cincinnati, SMU last year, and I think Houston can be and UCF are all NCAA teams. So again, getting more teams in our conference to play at that high level is great.
It's no mystery recruiting has gotten a big boost from the conference change. The Shockers signing 6 in November to help usher in a new era when 6 are going to graduate this fall. 2 of those guys are right here at Sunrise, tuning up just down the street from campus.
Next year I'll be going to Wichita State University.
The future is bright at 21st and Hillside. Part of the future also right now, just up the road at 45th and Edgemore.
The next few years, that's going to be us. Like, we're going to be the highlight on ESPN.
Both 6'9", both superstars in high school, both Chance Moore and Isaiah Chandler spending this year developing in the Sunrise Christian Academy prep program.
Chance, I knew him from like Twitter and stuff, but I didn't meet him until he just showed up at my door, and I seen him. I was like, oh, the experience is rising and stuff, but it's cool. He's a really good player. I like playing with him.
Standing the same height, their games are very different. Moore, he's a shooting guard.
Talking to Coach Marshall, that's something we've talked about a lot. Him wanting me to come in and being kind of the scoring guard, all that, and just show him that I want to be on the court and compete with the older people. And so I think that's what he wants me to do.
Chandler, about 60 pounds heavier. If you can't tell, does his work under the basket.
I'm going to be the big man, rebounding, blocking shots defensively, and I'll do some offensive, but my defense is my key right now.
These two get to work together a year earlier and less than 5 miles away from their future home.
These next few months I look at as crucial for what I could do the next year. I feel like if I do everything right, these next few months is going to set me up for a bright future the next year at Wichita.
Certainly will. And here's a full look at what they're calling the Sensational Six. Alex Lomax is a steal for the Shocks. He's a 4-star guy for the #1 high school team in the nation. They also grab a couple of bigs, Jaime Echenique and Morris Udizi, in addition, of course, to Chance Moore and Isaiah Chandler. Then there's Eric Stevenson, a shooting guard out of Washington State. He's drawing a lot of comparisons to one Ron Baker. When we come back, we'll take a look at the Shockers conference schedule. A lot of these AAC coaches a little nervous for their meeting with WSU.
already has, I guess, elevated the American Athletic Conference by their admittance to the conference. So I'm excited about it. I'm not excited about playing such a good team, but it's going to be beneficial to everybody in this league.
Thank you so very much. We're so excited.
And there's a moment to live on forever. WSU President John Bardo taking the call in a moment only our Kate cameras caught. The Shockers accepting at that moment their invitation to the American Athletic Conference. Now, after 7+ months of anticipation, it's finally here. 1 week from right now, the Shockers will have tipped off AAC play. So let's dive into the schedule. First up, you got that UConn game, an early game, 11 a.m. You'll have to get out of bed. It's on network TV. Then they have their home opener against Houston on the 4th of January. That game, they're going to Stripe Coke Arena. A 2-game road trip in 3 days. You see them hitting the road for ECU and then Tulsa with that new Havoc in the Heartland series between them and the Golden Hurricane. And they host SMU. That should be a big one. 6 o'clock tip on ESPNU before they travel down to Houston for another morning tip-off. That should be another big game with huge implications. Then they host UCF for a late-night tip on the 25th before hosting Tulsa on the 28th. They start off February with the tough one, heading up to Philadelphia to take on Temple. And then in the same month, they head to Memphis to continue that little road trip before returning home to host UConn. They'll then host Temple 5 days later. They finally will end up playing Cincinnati very deep into their conference schedule. Their first meeting with the preseason favorite Bearcats coming all the way on the 18th of February. That one up in Cincinnati. A 3 o'clock tip on ESPN. Sure, that'll have a lot of eyes on it. Then they have Tulane at home, SMU on the road. Remember, SMU has a very long 30-plus game home winning streak. We'll see if that's still intact when they meet on February 24th down at Moody Coliseum. Then they head down to Orlando for a little appetizer before the AAC Championship, which will also be down in Florida. And then the big one, March 4th at Coke Arena, 11 a.m. against Cincinnati. That will be a huge senior day, and who knows, there could be a regular season championship on the line. And speaking of championships, how about what the volleyball team was able to accomplish in their first AAC go-round, 20-0. They get to raise a trophy, cut down the volleyball net, a special year for the young women. They also got to host the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. That was the first time in program history. Not a bad entrance into the new conference. Don't forget, it all starts 1 week from today for the Shocker men's basketball team. Tip-off from Connecticut at 11. Thank you so much for joining us on our special. Have a great night. We'll see you tonight at 10.
For breaking news and your most accurate local forecast, Cake News is on air, online, and on your mobile. Cake News on your side.